Welcome to Crime Beat Most Wanted. I'm Tracy Tong. Tonight, police are on the hunt for a suspect they say violently attacked a teenage girl and her mother at their home in Toronto. Harry Rajkumar is one of Canada's most wanted. Police say that he fled the scene, narrowly missing capture, and has been allegedly evading arrest for more than 5 years. Tonight, they are asking for your help in tracking him down. Here now is Catherine McDonald with the hunt for one of Canada's most wanted, Harry Rajkumar.
Toronto's 43 Division, just east of the downtown core, has had a recent increase in violent crime. That's why the Public Safety Response Unit is on patrol.
It was a specialized unit and we would go to different divisions. So we were in 43 that night. And I remember being parked, just finished another call or something like that. And this one came over and it was an unknown trouble. It's a priority call though. It comes over as we call it a hot shot.
We're just in the area, unrelated calls when this call came over. It sounded serious right away.
The only information we had heard was he's killing my kids. That's the only information I heard from the dispatcher at the time.
The call we received was a person on the 6th floor yelling, "He's trying to kill my kids."
Police Constable Natalie Urbas is first on scene.
We didn't have access to the building. There was a lady walking by in the lobby and I remember banging on the window. She saw me, opened the door, and because I knew there's obviously everyone else was kind of right behind, I threw a planter in the door so they could get in.
David Montero is close behind.
I believe we were the third car that got there. We kind of all took a different route to get up. So we had one pair of officers go on the east stairwell, one pair of officers go on the west, and another pair of officers up in the elevator.
I knew it was the 6th floor. I went left. As I was actually in the stairwell, I could see blood. So I put my medical gloves on, and then as soon as I got to the 6th floor, I turned, and there she was, the female. Her mom was holding her. I didn't know at the time if it was a child. She looked like 11.
There was a mother holding her young daughter in her arms. She had major wounds, severe wounds to her neck and cheek area. And Nat was holding I think it was like a towel and putting direct pressure on the wound. Nat looked up at me and, she said, it's pretty bad.
I remember kneeling down. This kid had blood all over her. So I took the towel off of her face, and that was something I'll never forget. It was probably the worst thing I've ever seen. Her face was just completely cut up. It kind of took me back a little bit. I had to take a second, and then I just switched on, focused, and did my job. I assessed her injuries. I knew I couldn't do anything with her face, but then I noticed she had a stab wound in her neck, and it was just right here, and the blood was gushing. So I put my right hand on her neck.
They know she needs immediate medical attention.
Judging by, how confined we were in that little hallway, and knowing that these older apartments takes quite a bit of time to get a stretcher into the elevator, up to the floor and out, I kind of made the decision that I was gonna pick up this girl and bring her downstairs. He's
a big, strong guy. He just kind of swooped her up in his arms. I kind of grabbed her legs, but I kept my hand on her neck and we ran her down the stairs.
I kind of felt bad for moving her, thinking that maybe I'm causing more pain or I might be hurting her. Nat was holding pressure on her neck the entire time. Even as I was running down the stairs, she was trying to keep up and maintain pressure on the wound.
PC Montero carries her down 6 flights to the lobby. Detective Jason Hillier hears the officers' urgent radio calls.
We heard the officers requesting for an ambulance, asking for a rush on the ambulance, asking for other units to attend, and that doesn't do justice to those transmissions. Again, you know from the urgency, that assault, there's something significant to it.
When did you realize a child was involved?
It wasn't until I got on the back of that ambulance that I was able to start piecing together what was before me. I knew that there had been 2 people that had been attacked, but it was on the back of that ambulance when I was looking at her that I knew that I had a young girl, and I knew that I had another victim, her mom.
The young girl is actually a teenager, 16 years old.
I saw her being tended to by the paramedics, by the officers, and I knew in that moment, standing on the back there, that her injuries were grave. I was worried that this could turn into a homicide. I was worried that she was going to die.
So when the paramedics saw her neck, they realized, okay, we need to go right now. They realized there was no waiting. They couldn't do any more assessments on scene.
So we organized having the ambulance driven by one of our officers because it allowed all the paramedics to be in the back tending to her.
It was like, hey, you get in the driver's seat, you're driving the ambulance. He was, everything was so chaotic. He just jumped in the ambulance and drove it. So I rode in the ambulance with her, and she had her eyes open. I just kept talking to her as much as I could in the ambulance, just trying to keep her with me, keep her awake.
Are you thinking about the fact that now you're with this little girl and her mother isn't with her, and you're sort of standing in?
Oh, absolutely. When we took her out of her mother's arms, there was a sense of trust there. Like, she knew we were going to do whatever we could to help her daughter.
We have to kind of monitor intersections and make sure we hold those intersections so that the ambulance can pass through without stopping. Our role at that point is to ensure that the ambulance gets to its destination as quickly and as safely as possible.
I remember arriving at the hospital and one of the nurses said, okay, you have to let her go now. We need to bring her into the room. And I had a hard time doing that. It was really hard to let her go.
I was hoping she was going to make it, but it was touch and go.
Back at the crime scene, Detective Jason Hillier takes over.
We'd like you to turn yourself in. It's only a matter of time. The officer's going to find you. I was worried that I was facing a homicide scene, and I had turned my mind to having to protect a homicide scene, and it was important to preserve that so that we could allow our forensics to get the truest picture of what went on in that room.
Before the girl's mother is taken to a separate hospital for her injuries, she tells officers who she says attacked them.
It didn't take long for us to determine that Harry Rajkumar was going to be who we believe was responsible for this attack on both ladies.
Police were quick to say they have a suspect in mind, 46-year-old Harry Rajkumar, who investigators say may be driving a gray 2009 Toyota Tundra and should be considered armed and dangerous.
At Toronto's Sick Kids Hospital, the young girl is rushed into surgery.
She got transferred upstairs and started getting worked on by a bunch of different surgeons. You realize how serious it is when doctors and surgeons come out and they ask you, like, wow, what happened to that poor girl?
Detectives learn who Harry Rajkumar is and that they just missed him.
He went down the same stairwell that I ran up, so we could have crossed paths that night. But I think it wasn't meant to happen that way, because if I crossed paths with him, I wouldn't have been able to help or do what I did with the girl. It was pretty close to catching him, but I think about that a lot.
Police believe they are one tip away from tracking Harry Rajkumar down and need your help. If you have any information on his whereabouts, please do not approach him. Call Crime Stoppers. And remember, it's anonymous. Welcome back to Crime Beat Most Wanted. I'm Tracy Tong. Tonight, police are on the lookout for one of Canada's most wanted, Harry Rajkumar. Take a good look. He has black hair and brown eyes. He's 5'11" or 180 centimeters tall and weighs around 160 pounds or 73 kilograms. He is wanted for attempted murder. If you have information on his whereabouts, call Crime Stoppers. We now return to the hunt for Canada's most wanted, Harry Rajkumar.
We begin with some developing news. 2 kids and their mother are suffering from varying degrees of injuries following an assault in Scarborough. And police say one of the kids was stabbed in the neck.
On November 23, 2018, my assignment was to report on a violent attack on the 6th floor of a building on Trudel Court.
I was in my apartment with a girlfriend and I heard screaming at the top of her lungs, so I ran out into the hallway and she was screaming, "He's killing my kids, he's gonna kill my kids, call 911, screaming, covered in blood. I ran in my apartment, locked my door, called the police, stayed on the phone with the police. I seen her on the ground holding her daughter and a lot of blood.
What was she saying?
She wasn't saying nothing, she was crying.
The officers first on scene rushed the 16-year-old to hospital.
I finally got some updates from the hospital, and it was pretty incredible to know that she was going to make it.
When I found out later on that she was actually stable and she had a chance, that was a special moment.
Detectives send a message to their suspect, Harry Rajkumar.
Come to the station, get a lawyer. It's over, we know who you are. So we know that Harry and our adult victim were in a relationship. He was a stepfather to our young lady. He had a family with her adult victim as well, and we began trying to track him down.
They had the K9 out there, the ETF out there, the officers looking for him.
I discover that he was not supposed to be there.
Court documents find that there is a history of alleged domestic violence involving Rajkumar and the woman he allegedly attacked on Friday night. Last month, he was charged with assault with a weapon and uttering death threats for an incident that happened here on September 30th, and also charged with assault for another incident on October 8th. The 46-year-old was released on $2,000 bail with conditions that he not communicate with the mother of his child, nor be within 100 meters of her home or workplace. He was also forbidden from possessing any weapons and was ordered to seek counseling for alcohol abuse.
We had an exit at a stairwell at the, I believe it was the west side of the building.
Do we know how he fled the scene?
Yes, he fled on foot, and then there was a vehicle. He had a vehicle that left, that he drove away in. It was actually an officer running plates and found the vehicle.
His vehicle was located around Scarborough Town Center. So we decided to go and check some of the video in there, and we did see him go into the Scarborough Town Center. And then he walked out, and you see him just walking out of the mall there.
And went cold very quickly, for something very promising to nothing.
Two days later, he is spotted near the U.S. border.
We have a sighting of him at a casino in Niagara. Through our investigation, we were able to determine that we believed he tried to access an ATM, and we received some still images from a casino that showed him in the casino and then exiting. I had a team of investigators that went down and began looking and searching. In Niagara, we were unable to find anything leaving that casino.
And since then, he's never accessed any of his,
no,
that you can see, any of his accounts or
nothing that
cell phone. He got rid of all that.
That's correct. All the things that we had for him, whether it be financial or the cell phone, a cell phone number or records, it all went cold.
As the holiday season approaches, a new tip comes in.
For the Christmas break, I had a tip that he was potentially in Ottawa. I was in Ottawa for the holidays, and my father is a retired RCMP officer. The two of us went out and conducted surveillance over a couple of days to see if we would see him coming or going, and had no luck. So
winter turns to summer, and mail arrives.
There is some mail sent from the U.S., and we believe that it is linked to Mr. Rajkumar. I believe that he had sent some communication. The return postage is from the U.S. I believe it was a New York address. I began exploring the U.S. connection because our initial records showed that there was some family links there, and we began checking again, but we had no luck.
So what's that like 6 months later for this mother to get a package from a man who's wanted for attempted murder?
It was horrible. When she called me and expressed what was going on, it brought her right back to that night. And it was hard for her, you know, in those coming days after that even, to wonder if she was safe. Where is he? Is he back?
Nearly 5 years later, detectives at 43 Division are still on the hunt.
We're getting suggestions that maybe he went to Guyana, where I guess he's born. And so we reached out to them, to their police service, and had them do some checks for us as well. And again, with negative results to this point. But we have his wanted picture up in one of their police stations there.
They are tracking all ties to Harry Rajkumar.
When we do a production order, we're asking for assistance from a company to provide information to us. Often we will do so with, say, banks, with social media companies like Google or Facebook, whether it was health records, whether it was obviously social media stuff, banking records, to see if we can get any lead.
And they get one from overseas.
We're able to get information that his email popped up in China.
Would that have been someone got an email from him, or how did that happen?
So we don't even know if it would have been him. It's just an email that we're aware of is linked to him was found to be used in China in some capacity, but it turned out another dead end.
To try to get new eyes on the case, they reach out to the BOLO program.
It was such a violent crime. If we're not trying every option that we have, then I think we're not doing our job. And I think we have a BOLO program. It's a great program. It does draw attention to different crimes across Canada, and I think it's worth a shot.
Welcome back to Crime Beat Most Wanted. Police say Harry Rajkumar has been on the run for nearly 5 years. He is wanted in connection to a violent attack that sent a girl and her mother to hospital. Police are asking for any tips on his whereabouts, no matter how small. Police believe he could be in the U.S., Guyana, or in Toronto. Here's more on the hunt for Harry Rajkumar, one of Canada's most wanted.
Police officers Montero and Urbis will never forget the day they had to take an injured child from her mother.
You start replaying the events in your head and thinking if what you did was right. I think it might have been really hard for her that somebody just came and took her child out of her arms.
An email helps ease their minds.
I received a letter from Dr. Hickey from Sick Kids expressing his appreciation for the actions that those officers took that night.
He sent an email to the detective in charge of the case, and he outlined that a large part of why that little girl made it to the hospital conscious was the medical intervention taken at the scene. He let the investigator know that, hey, these officers did the right thing, and that went a long way.
I can read it for you if you'd like.
I'd love that.
In short, great decisions and management in the field to get her out of the apartment to paramedics without delay. Please pass my sincere thanks to the officers involved, who in my view should be congratulated and recognized for saving this poor girl's life. I've never had that before. That was also very special to get from someone like him.
And 2 years later, they get a call to meet her.
I only had one picture of her in my mind at the time, which was what I saw that night. To see her face as a young girl, like all fixed up, it was amazing for me. She said she remembered my voice, which was really nice. It made me super emotional. And then right at the end, she gave us all hugs and she said, "Thank you for saving my life." Being able to have a conversation or watching her smile, those are the things now I keep in my head, for sure.
PC Montero gets to once again look into her mother's eyes.
She told me that she was very thankful that, you just came in there and scooped her up and took her out of there. She hugged me, I hugged her back, and she said thank you. And I was kind of lost for words there.
They are left with new memories and a memento.
She gave me a little card and a little medal. It just says, "You're an amazing blessing in my life. No matter how much I say it, it still won't be enough. Thank you so much for saving my life. Without your efforts and determination, I would not be here today."
I received a letter from the daughter and a medal. And so I keep that in my locker downstairs. And every time I put my uniform on, I go get ready for work, I think of her. So that's why I keep it there.
Catching Harry Rajkumar is always top of mind for every officer that responded to that frantic call.
I have his face sort of ingrained in my brain.
So you look for him?
All the time. Anytime I go to something, I'm always looking.
Wouldn't that be something if you were the one to catch him?
Well, it would be a full circle moment, for sure. For me, it's to be able to throw the handcuffs on him would be something.
Here is one last look at Harry Rajkumar. If you have any information on his whereabouts, call Crime Stoppers. And remember, it's anonymous. I'm Tracy Tong. Thank you for joining us tonight on Crime Beat Most Wanted. See you again soon.
For more from Crime Beat, there are over 80 episodes of the Crime Beat podcast available now on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, or wherever you find your favorite podcasts.